Spring finally arrived near the end of March, so we celebrated the solstice by making a trip to the coast. It was pretty much a normal coastal adventure to us. That was as expected, and we assumed this is all we'd get out of the trip. Toss in a couple of oceanside meals maybe, and sleeping with the ocean breaking outside your cottage? Nice, but normal. We had no way of knowing what interesting discoveries lay ahead of us. We pulled into the Windermere Chalets, and though we didn't know it then, the motel sign was a bit prophetic about the times ahead of us. For the record, the critter on the sign here is a tufted puffin.
Our cottage triplexes made for comfortable rooms facing the ocean, and we had easy access to the beach.
Perfect.
Perfection for me is any time you can go to sleep with the sound of those waves.
Our little cabin was right next to the ocean, and we had a beautiful view. We moved our stuff in and headed for the beach. I was picking up stones and other beachside treasures. This time I even made a little profit, sort of. Here's a sand dollar. And 25 cents. 50 cents. $1.60 in all. Pretty good. Plus, my rooting around allowed me to come up with a pocket full of rock. The odd thing is that since the stones on this beach were constantly tumbled by the surf, a lot of them were perfectly round, like so many little buttons. I arranged the stones into a pattern. I like patterns, and this one looks a little like a Nike swoosh.
Or even some kind of tribal necklace.
But that wasn't the only pattern that aroused my interest. Here's another interesting pattern. Ripples in the sand that will soon be erased by the incoming tide, and then recreated again tomorrow. Here are some dandy patterns that have been around for perhaps 100,000 years. How in the world were they created? Are they some kind of magma with holes formed by expelled bubbles? Or are they alien fossils? Well, we headed down the beach accompanied only by a lone gull.
We loved how we had the beach to ourselves.
Soon the beach around us became a bit more rocky, and the tide was going out, exposing some areas for exploration.
This was so amazing, like being in a different country or on a different planet. I loved being surrounded by these cathedral rocks.
We found ourselves in a zone of immense bluffs. It was going to be a bit demanding to explore the area, but undaunted, we soldiered on.
I never tired of the peace, tranquility, the magic of this stretch of beach, and as always, the soothing sound of those waves. So much to offer.
Around each bend was a new panorama of beauty, rather like some ancient valley of kings, complete with statues.
There seemed to be no end to all kinds of exploration. We never knew what we were going to run into next.
Then Darcy found a cave. Well, maybe more accurately, a tunnel.
I was taken with checking out every mystery there was to be had here.
Darcy led the way, and I just trailed around behind her from rock to rock. We spent quite a while poking around looking for caves, and even had luck finding a few.
These caves were absolutely wonderful. The ocean sounds became magnified from within, and the colors were beautiful.
I followed her to the end and studied the veins of ore on its walls, then turned to leave. Pretty picture back out there in the daylight. Now we were hooked, and the tide was lapping at our feet. We searched for more. Were there other caves?
Chris just can't keep the rocks out of his pockets. Quite the collector. Better make room in the garage for another bucketful.
Then Darcy found another cave.
Oh boy, another mystery to explore. What's behind this rock wall? There were so many surprises here.
Yep, there sure were. The best was yet to come. Darcy found an entrance that headed in. We pushed along in the darkness until finally we saw a glimmer of light ahead. Don't go that way, Darcy. It's too small.
The light at the end of the tunnel. Do we dare? Of course we do, even if I have to pick my way along with care. Trying not to fall in.
One thing to consider from time to time is that for about half of each day, these caves are full of water. After looking around, Darcy found the way out and scrambled through a little tunnel, wading through waters and climbing over rocks to get to daylight. Out the back door of the cave, we found a secret little tide pool.
Neat, look at all these anemones. Oh, look at the green ones down there.
And here, Darcy points out a green sea anemone. Only the first of many. We could see the tide was coming in. We were debating heading back to the cabin with our adventuring done for the day. That was when Darcy said,
Whoa, is that a puffin up there on that cliff?
It was a long ways away, and I don't know how she spotted it in the first place, but nevertheless, there it was. The prophecy of the Windermere sign had come true. It was a tufted puffin, and our trip was about to get even more interesting. All we had to do was get over there somehow and take a look at the critter. It took 45 minutes, but here we are. Wow, a 6-foot-tall work of art. But up close, we could see that it was made of what appeared to be trash. Shoe soles, wrenches, flashlights, hairbrushes, tool handles, and tire tread.
A sign nearby said that the statue was a tufted puffin named Cosmo, and that he was constructed solely of trash and garbage washed up on the beach. We became enamored with the project, which was started by an artist here in Bandon, Angela Hasseltine Posey, as educational tool to teach about the volume of trash being washed ashore and to impact behavioral change. Community volunteers and schools gather and pick up the trash, then more volunteers wash and separate it according to color, material, shape, and so on.
Heck, his beak appears to be made up of a bucket, a plastic spoon, half a beach ball, and maybe a welder's leather fly, whatever his chin piece is.
While we were admiring the puffin, a couple of local kids ran up excitedly to see Cosmo, and their mothers explained that yes, everyone knew about Cosmo, and the project definitely inspired their children and others to pick up trash and pollute less.
But one thing you couldn't miss with old Cosmo was his webbed feet. Big as tennis rackets and bright orange, they were certainly a dandy set of flippers.
Look at the personality that this artist was able to capture in this guy by piecing together careless waste. We kept looking at different parts of Cosmo and seeing even more that we had missed before. Then we had to leave Cosmo for others to appreciate, including this blackbird who laid claim to his head. We wondered what other art Angela had created out of trash and headed into Old Town Bandon to the Washed Ashore Museum. Wow!
Entering the building, we weren't sure what to expect, and what we saw was certainly unexpected. An entire whale rib cage suspended from the ceiling. Closer inspection showed that it was comprised mostly of plastic jugs. The sculpture makes quite a comment about the crap that washes up daily on our beaches.
A few pieces were abstract but still impressive. Then you get to the recognizable ones like this shark. And check out all the washed ashore styrofoam that this turtle is laying on. There's a lot more that washes up on shore besides plastic, as we know. Look at all the glass in this starfish sculpture.
As we left the gallery, we got to experience one more piece of art, Henry the Fish. His construction was familiar, lots of plastic, styrofoam, and rubber, with a heavy accent on orange. Now just take this opportunity to study old Henry with Darcy here, and I'll shut up.
I'm just in awe of the artist's ability to make something so impressive out of so much tossed away junk.
Pretty amazing, huh? And all this junk washed ashore in waves. I guess I never realized just how much trash was dumped daily on our beaches, some from as far away as Japan. Here's a final view of Henry, and note that there's actually a little fish inside his mouth headed for Henry's plastic gullet. It's amazing what you can discover if you just leave yourself open for a little adventure.
The sun set on another great trip to the coast where we admired the beauty we're used to and enjoyed the surprising allure of common trash.
Darcy and I are lucky to live in a beautiful, wondrous place. And even though we sometimes become a little complacent with the majesty around us, we enjoy reminders like the lesson we learned at the Washed Ashore Gallery. Millions of Americans are sentenced to endure life in the compacted mass of society found in our cities. We are extremely fortunate to have escaped this fate, and the occasional prompt to appreciate our environment is welcome and celebrated in our journeys throughout the place we call home.